So, good evening, everyone. As Ravi has introduced myself, Sai Srujan, I'm the founder of Space Skool. So, Space Skool is a company that promotes space education and research, and we believe that space is not just about rocket sciences and astronautics. It is much more beyond than that. So, let us talk about this point by point in the next coming slides. Thank you so much for has muted
So,
me, it seems. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, can I start? Or is
Yep,
there anything? Okay,
yep, you can start.
okay. So, space today is an industry today, and it's an economy, and it's a kind of a lifestyle. From the phone we use, and from the GPS we use in the cars, Google Maps on our mobiles, and satellites around orbiting the Earth as a part of our daily life. So we are living in the world where India is about to send its first astronaut through Gaganyaan mission, and Indian private companies, startups like Skyroot, Agnical Cosmos, Bellatrix, are building rockets, launching satellites, and creating global space solutions. So what I want to do in this session is connect all the dots from space science to startups, from research to career opportunities. And the best part is, no matter what your background is, you may be from science background or from business management or engineering or biology, there is space for you in the space industry. So I started Space School with a vision to make space education accessible, fun, and practical. So to break the barriers and to allow anyone to dream big. So we are not waiting for the future to happen. We are building it one project, one idea, one student at a time. And you sitting here are the part of the story. So let's begin. Let's discover the future that belongs to all of us and the future that is space. So, so, what is space? Like, what do you guys think? Like, can you guys drop something? What do you think of space? Or like, what is space for you? So, if you can drop some text, or if somebody wants to unmute yourself and talk a bit about it, that would be wonderful. So that I can understand like what do you think about space, and we can, based on that we can maybe curate it in a way. The scientific study of engineering of rockets, particularly the design, construction, and operations. Yes, space is a world outside Earth. Yes, a place where all the planets are present. That's just nothing. Space is a wide. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for dropping a text. So for many of us, space is that black sky we see at night, filled with stars and some planets, maybe. Some things, astronauts floating in zero gravity, some amazing big rockets with high tech labs. But let me tell you this, space is much more than that. Space is not only a physical place beyond our atmosphere, like we can say the new space is the new economy. It's a new platform for innovation. It's a new career opportunity. Space is also about solving earth problems from satellite, using satellites data for agriculture, using GPS for navigation. Like we use Rapido, Swiggy, Zomato, everything like this. Majorly, they have integrated GPS for the navigations, for the location values, and everything. And we use space tech to monitor climate change and everything. It is also about imagination, about thinking beyond boundaries, about asking, can we grow food on Mars? Can we live on Moon? Can a student from a small town in India build a satellite that can go up to space? So, what do you guys think? Can we grow food on Mars? Can we live on the Moon? Can that someone you like? Can you build a satellite that can go to space? What do you think, Manjunath? What do you think? Can do you think that we can grow plants on Mars? Anybody? Simple yes or no.
Guys, you can
There is a
respond
possibility.
by
Yeah.
unmuting yourself also. It's
Yes.
open to everyone here. There is a possibility. Yes, if you work on it. Yes,
Yes.
why
Yes.
not?
Why not? Considering the plant's condition. Yes. All right. Thank you again. So we were asking a few questions, like maybe at this point of time that might feels like yeah, this is possible, there is probability, possibility, there is chances and all that. So can we grow food on Mars? Can we live on Moon? Can a student from a small city like anything in India build a satellite that can go to space or something? And you will be surprised to know the answer. The answer to all of those questions is yes. That is what space represents today. That is possibility. When we say space, we are not talking about something out of reach. In fact, it is becoming more reachable every day, and we can say day by day. Even in your own smartphone, you're already using some space applications, like which we're talking about, maps or the weather applications, or even whatever the live streaming that we are having now in our televisions. So somehow they are linked to the space solutions, space applications. So next time when someone asks you what is space, don't just say stars and rockets. Say space is future, space is something full of opportunities, and space is a place that we can explore and all that stuff. So let us see the objective of this talk today. So before we dive into anything, let us clearly put up all the objectives what we are going to talk today. And I always believe that when a session has some level of clarity or some level of engagement, it becoming more useful to everyone. So here what we are going to achieve together in today's session is, the first one is, let us see how you can launch your journey if you are someone interested, to get into the space industry. So and the second one is, we will try to explore different types of career options available in the space industry. And trust me, they are not all about rockets and astronauts. And let's see the third one. Let us try to break some myths related to space. So, when we talk about space, astronauts, rockets, a lot of other things which are related to space, like we think something and the reality is different. So, let us try to break some funny myths into this, like about space and the misconceptions and all about that. And the fourth point, we will talk about the accessibility. So, what is this accessibility? So few people think that space is for only few set of people, like people who are sitting in the US or people sitting in the Europe. People thinks that space is something which is not really accessible for every one of us. Let us see how space is accessible for all kinds of backgrounds. Like as we just spoke, you might be an engineer, you might be an electronic engineer, you might be a communication engineer, you might be a mechanical engineer. There is always an option for to get into the space industry. So whether you want to be and the fifth point, sorry, I forgot. So we will try to simplify space sciences the way that we can understand in simple terms and simple terminology. So whether you want to be a researcher or an entrepreneur or want to be an educator, this session will try to give you some clarity on how you can get into the space industry and how you can gradually be a part of the space ecosystem. So by the end of this talk, I want every one of you walk out thinking that yes, I can also get into the space industry with some clarity, with some hope, and with some a fascination towards space. So yeah, so this is one of the biggest myth we can consider, and a lot of people, a lot of us, when we say space, the first thing that comes to our mind is a huge rocket and the astronaut sitting in that huge rocket, and it is going to space. So very, very familiarly, when we think of space, this is what something strikes in our mind with some bass voice, countdown, 10, 9, 8, launch, right? So space is not just that. Space is not just for astronauts. So when you hear this word, like try to get a career into the space industry, what's the first image in your head? Yes, an astronaut sitting in a space suit, floating in the space ship, right? And maybe a few space scientists wearing a huge white jackets with some hats on and trying to develop something into the clean rooms. This is not that. So astronauts, rockets are just a tip of the iceberg in the space industry. So what for one person to go to space, like let us say an astronaut want to get into the space, like when he is or she is going to space, there is a team of 1,000 scientists, 1,000 people working behind the scenes. Scientists, engineers, software people, psychologists, biologists, doctors, some people like communicators, like, astronauts also train under public speaking. When they go to space, they learn the art, how to speak well, how to deliver, how to speak clearly, clarity. So even designers, policymakers, lawyers, like you think of something, there is always a scope for that specific domain to get into the industry. Let it be arts, let it be law, let it be engineering, anything. So let's take an example. So do you guys know that astronaut will stay in space for almost 6 months, 5 months, and few people will stay for it more than an year, something like that. So like guys, do you know like what astronauts eat in space? Let us see. Like what you guys say. Like what do you know about that? Try to comment. Okay, someone said tablets, packed food. Okay, so do you think astronauts can eat pizza, burger, biryani? Why not idli, dosa? What do you guys think? Foods like canned curry, fish. Okay, anything else? Supplements. So, guys, do you think astronaut can eat biryani? Maybe a pizza? What do you think? Powdered milk? Yes, they can. Okay. Anybody wants to answer something different? Yes, Pizza Hut delivered pizza, right, Manjunath? Yes, you're right. So, who develops these foods to astronauts then? Who develops these foods? Food scientists, right? So, space is not just for astronauts. Why I'm saying this, there are food scientists who develops foods, right? There are biologists who actually study the microbial behavior under microgravity. There are engineers, like, the typical temperature of a space, like near Earth orbit, where the space station actually orbits. Space station is something where astronauts live in space. It's like an orbital home for the astronauts. So the typical temperature, around that space station is around minus 200 degrees to about 200 degrees. So, astronauts can't not it is not humanly possible to bathe that temperatures. What happens then? Astronauts have this thermal technologies and aerodynamics. So generally, when we listen, rocket launches 3 in the morning, night 11:37 p.m. So what is this time frame? So there are some kind of mathematical calculations happens over here. So, you can be a mathematician, you can be physicist, you can be any person. It is not just about, astronauts and all that. So I hope you guys can hear me.
Yeah, Srujan, you are
Yeah.
audible.
Great, great. So when I say space is not just about astronauts, I really mean it. You don't have to go to space to be a part of it. You can build the systems, analyze the data, design the environment, or you can even tell a story. The space industry needs everyone, and all it needs is you. So if you want to be into that industry, you can get into that industry. So let us talk about the new space is. So today's session, that the title of this today's session is the future is space, and this decade is the space age. So why we have to say why this decade? What is so special about this decade to be called the space age? Other kind of a decade of space revolution. Like we have seen IT boom, back from 2000s to till now. So we are going to space boom, space industry boom in this decade. Might be possibly much more bigger than the IT boom. So we can say that we are entering a brand new era of space age. The world space age was dominated by government agencies like NASA, ISRO, ESA, JAXA, Roscosmos from Russia. So these giants had the access even to the capital, even to the resources. Even launching a small satellite requires years of planning and massive budgets. But today, everything is changing. Private companies are stepping in and disrupting the whole industry. For example, SpaceX or the Elon Musk is the best example, making rockets reusable, reducing the cost so hugely. In India, we don't have to talk about US, we don't have to talk about Europe, we don't have to talk about Japan or Russia. So even we can talk about our own India. So in India, we have Skyroot Aerospace based out of Hyderabad, who has launched their first rocket, Vikram S, few years back. That was the first private rocket launch happened from India at a very minimal cost comparing to the so-called big giants, global giants in the space industry. And we have one more company called Agnicol Cosmos from Chennai. So they are building, a huge 3D rocket, 3D designed rocket. So the whole rocket is being designed with 3D. And there is Pixel who is sending not just one satellite, they're sending constellation of satellites, a very high group of satellites. And we have Bellatrix who are working on the electronic propulsion. All startups found by this young people. So Ravi, are you getting any kind of disturbance from my end?
No, 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 no. There
All
is
right.
no disturbance.
No.
You're clear.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So so these are not really, billion-dollar companies. These are not really having not $1 billion in funds like NASA. NASA spends billions of dollars every single year to launch things. Even Russia has that kind of funding. So whatever the companies that we are talking about, like even ISRO, Skyroot, Pixel, Bellatrix, these are not $1 billion companies. These are the companies were built by dreamers. There are a lot of people who have failed but built again and succeeded. Like for example, Elon Musk. We have seen like his story of the three rocket failures in a row is a wonderful example for anyone. So it's a kind of motivation for a lot of people. And the most exciting part is the future of space is not controlled by any single country or any single organization. Now it is democratized. And even in India, it used to be. You go 10 years down, back, 10 years back, like 2010 or something. So ISRO was the only player who is doing all the thing. If you want to build your own rocket, if you want to build your own satellite, there used to be a lot of, regulatory compliances thing. There are a lot of regulations, restrictions to be into the space industry. But 3 4 years back, the recent government has private completely opened space industry for privatization. Like if you are someone who has the technology, who has the funding, who has the resources, if you want to build one, launch one, you can approach the Department of Space and you can get your satellites done, you can launch your companies now. So it's like the space industry has become more into uh, more open than the back days. And so we were talking about why this decade so specifically. So let me tell you something very important. So like this decade from 2020 to 2030 is not just another 10 years that we can call like uh, personally, I call it as the golden decade for space industry. You may ask why? Because of three major reasons or three revolutions that are happening simultaneously in the industry and that they are reshaping the space industry completely. First one is that cost of going to space has dropped significantly. Because there are few companies like SpaceX and a lot of other companies are building reusable rockets. So when we use reusable rockets, the cost efficiency will come it will come down very significantly. Now you just imagine. So we today we are using aeroplanes to travel. So now imagine you go to from, let us say you go from Hyderabad to Delhi, and you can come back on the same aeroplane from Delhi to Hyderabad, and you can do that 100 times, 1,000 times probably. Now imagine if that aeroplane can be used only once from going Hyderabad to Delhi, how expensive it could be. So the same way, when we are using when
Srujan, you are on mute. Can you unmute yourself? Srujan.
sorry, I haven't checked. So yeah.
Okay.
So it's like you think of, you build, for hundreds of crores you buy a plane, and if you can only use it, the cost is very huge, right? So the same way, when you are when you're using a rocket to launch a satellite to send humans to space, after it comes back, if you can reuse the same rocket, if you can use some parts of the rocket multiple times, of course the cost comes significantly down. So that is what reusable rockets, you know and this is the major, like we are seeing a lot of companies, a lot of nations are building this reusable rockets. That is one of the major reason the costs are coming down, and a lot of growth is happening inside the industry. And going to Mars, going to moon is not just a science fiction. Like when we are talking about moons, colonizations, like the movies like Martian and going regularly or staying on the moon, it is not anymore science fiction or not the Netflix series. It is becoming real targets. Now all the industries in the world are trying to reach the target. NASA has plans to send astronauts, back to moon to stay there for a longer period of time. If you heard this term called Artemis mission. So 50 years back, NASA has sent first, astronauts to the moon, the mission called Apollo. And again, now they're going back to the moon to do research, but this time they want to stay there and conduct some research, and they wanted it to be the gateway to go to the Mars. So we can say that we have a proper set, a proper timeline. Like every company in this industry is saying that in the next 5 years, in the next year, 10 years, we are going to build this technology, we are going to do that. So this is enabling other players to compete within the industry. It is one of the reason a lot of companies are coming up, a lot of economies being built up. So, and the third one is that internet from space is becoming so real. Just probably 6 7 years back, then if you are from probably 1900 born kids, so if you remember using a 3G mobile, 2G thing, it used to be so hard for us to get some network, and the cost of the data to make phone calls and all that. And today we are having higher speeds of data, so all becoming because all everything is become possible because of the space industry. So in that way, if you guys have heard the name called Starlink is sending hundreds of satellites into the space, and even you are sailing in the middle of an ocean, you can get the network, you can get the Wi-Fi from. So these are one of the few reasons, not just any other countries, even like every country wants to get into the space industry. Australia wants to be the pioneer into this industry. India is want to be the pioneer in the industry. China is really focusing onto the space industry. Recently, they have sent 4 5 astronauts to the space. They stayed there. They have done some their research to launch their own, space station to the space and all that stuff. So, so, so the global space industry, like let us see, like how big the space industry in term in the numbers. So, space is something most sorry, because of this video, the noise is coming up. So, in the global race, every company has the market share, right? So it's like at this point of time, only 2%, is the contribution from in the space industry. India's contribution is only 2%. By the end of 2030, India is focusing to have 9% market share in the industry. So it is so big that like we are thinking we aim to reach 9%. That means 4.5 times growth in just less than a decade. It might sounds like from 2 to 9%. It can be, it seems like just a 7% increase. When we are talking about in terms of numbers, it is in some $1 billion industry. So I just don't want to bore you with the numbers and all that. Let's move on to the next topic. So we'll talk about a little bit about what is space sciences. So like let us try to talk something more interesting from now. So space sciences is a huge domain. It's like doing an engineering. So when you wants to do engineering, you always have a lot of options, like which stream you want to get into. Somebody wants to be, computer science guy. Somebody wants to, these days AI, machine learning, these are coming up, and few people wants to get into uh, you know food technology, biotechnology. These are also engineering domains, right? So if you want to do mechanical engineer, if you wants to get into VLSI, embedded systems, and a lot of other topics, just like that, space sciences is also used, which has a lot of other domains like astronomy. Astronomy is a whole subject where we talk about planets, stars, universe, space, and everything. So astrobiology is one of the domain in the space sciences which talks about the life. So when we are saying that we are going to find life on another planet, we want to find aliens. So astrobiology comes into the picture. And a lot of us, when we think of aliens, uh, you know, two big eyes or four big eyes, four legs, four hands, so giant, ugly face. So that's what we think of aliens. So what NASA, the other companies, when they are saying that, uh, aliens, it can be some microbial life which is maybe surviving, inside the surface of any planet. It can be microbial life. It can be some watery body. It can be anything. It can be a small algae. It can be an alien because it is life from another planet. So astrobiology is something they find, they try to search for life beyond Earth, and they also plays a vital part in terms of research, in terms of biology, like farming and all that. Biotechnology is kind of an intersection of microbiology of and all that. And planetary sciences, which talks about understanding planets and their evolution, like we say Mars is a planet. We study about that Mars. It can consider a planetary science. If we want to talk about Pluto, which is no more a planet, so when we're talking about Mercury, or when we're talking about a planet which is not from our solar system, outside planets, exoplanets. When we are studying about planets, how they have born, is there any possibility to host life on that planet? Then planetary science comes into the picture. And rocketry is a part of space sciences where we use, it's just a launch vehicle. If you want to go from Hyderabad to Delhi, you can use a flight, you can use a road trip, you can go anyway. So rocketry is a medium of traveling from one location to another location. We can say if you're going to Mars, space, anyway, rocketry is it's a carrier subject. And the fourth topic that we have mentioned is space medicine. So space medicine is something, again, it's a normal kind of a medicine, but it requires a different approach of development and all that. Space medicine deals with, about the medicated stuff and all that in space. So let us talk about myths of space. Like just a minutes ago, when we were asking what astronauts eat and the space travel, few persons has mentioned tablets. It's a myth. So tablets in food sciences, there is a topic called meal in a pill. So it's just like you're having a meal through a pill. That is not the reality. That is the future. Like food scientists are banging their heads to develop such kind of a technology, which is not really happening because like it's not just about getting nutrition to the body. So even you have some kind of a tablet or some kind of a small piece of a food, you'll not still feel your stomach full, right? psychologically you have that feeling, no, I didn't had anything, even though you have energy or even though you have that. So that's not reality yet. Astronauts consume any kind of food that they want to use, but not everything. These kind of foods are being prepared with a level of care, because astronaut can't cook their food in space. Whatever the foods that astronauts consume in space, they are prepared on the earth and they will be sent to space. The food will stay perfectly fine for 6 months. Few foods will stay good for 1 year, and few 2 years. When we are talking about Mars, going to Mars take you 6 months and coming back probably 8 9 months. So it's almost like 1.5 year journey to the just for the travel. And you go there, you stay 3 months, 6 months, or a month. Of course, it's a 2.5 years of space journey. So not like International Space Station, which is just 400 kilometer above the surface. So you can't really send the food, water every 6 months or every 3 months, right? So you need food systems that can stay up for 2 months, I mean, sorry, 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years, 4 years. So that's where the industry is going. So still food scientists are developing such kind of food, space food technologies, to be safe. So when we are talking about major myths, not just in terms of science. If someone wants to get into the space industry, there are some level of myths. Uh, Few people we might come across, as a kid, they say that I want to be an astronaut. I am so interested about planets. I'm so interested about stars. But when you ask the same kid in the 10th grade or in the inter what career that you are choosing, probably they'll say I want to be an engineer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a chartered accountant. You see very less number of people who chooses space sciences as their career. The reason is we are we are always hearing that one thing: space industry is not so easy. Not any other industry is also not easy. And they say that you don't have any jobs into the industry. This is a myth. No, there are lots of opportunities in the space industry. You know, a few people think that space is only for geniuses. You need to be another Einstein or an Elon Musk to get into the space industry, which is not true. I mean, academics is something which is very important, because even though you're building a rocket, you use uh, the physics topics that we learned in our schooling, elementary school, the Newton laws of motion and all that. We use the laws of thermodynamics, the topics that we learned at the Kepler's law and all that. You know, so those are important, but that is not true. And we say that if you want to be an astronaut, you want to be a space scientist, only option you have is NASA or Europe. You need to go to US, get a job there, and all that, which is not true in India. And people thinks that ISRO is not even in the race. That is not true. ISRO is ISRO is among the top five space agencies in the world. We reached Mars in the very first attempt. Lot of lot of organizations, like lot of in the world, have failed to go to Mars in the first attempt, but we did it. And we landed on the moon. Our cost efficiency is world famous. Like if you go out to YouTube and search for a lot of interviews, like the industry leaders in the space industry says that India is able to crack the equation of the cost efficiency. So India is not a follower anymore. It is like a globe. It is one of the global leaders in the space industry. So these myths are like walls built inside our minds. Once you break them, you'll see a huge playground of opportunities. You'll see a huge sea of opportunities. So who works in the space industry? That the topic which we have discussed, but this is in another slide. Engineers wants mechanical engineers, aerospace, like software people can get into that. Let us see bio scientists, like biologists. Came from a biology background, you came from a physics background, you came from chemistry background, you may be a data scientist, you can do that. And we were talking about legal and policy experts. So what lawyers do in space? Can anybody tell me, like, what is the lawyer's role in space? So what do you guys think? Do you think we need lawyers in the space industry? Yes. Mukesh, can you tell me why do we need lawyers for space industry? You don't know? Okay. To create policies. Great,
I
Avinash.
think maybe rules and regulation because space is for every country, right? So about their
Yes.
policies, intellectual properties, and all.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for unmuting yourself and saying that. Is there anyone else that who wants to answer? Anybody? Okay. So let us say, like just one person has answered. I couldn't find his name anyways. So, yeah. So there is Elon Musk, very influential person, the richest person in the world. Like he says that I have built a very big rocket. I can go to the Mars for the very first time. Like I can go Mars. So when I go to Mars, I'll say wherever I land, wherever I go, like I will just go on a horse or go on a Mars rover, and the location that I go there will be mine. Is it possible? Is it legal? No, that's not how it works, right? So there are international treaties, not just one country builds it. Like UN come up with rules and regulations, how you can use, for what purpose you can use space or any other celestial bodies. If you go to moon, if you go to Mars, if you go to space, there are a few things that then you can do. There are a lot of things that you cannot do. So to look over the policies and the legal frameworks, the regulations. And for all that purpose, you need space lawyers. Lawyers, like there is one domain which is very much booming these days, air and space law. So you need designers, like how not UI, but yeah, UI is also there. But how you design your satellite, how lean you can design, build your rocket, how small you can build your satellite, how efficiently it is working. So this is all comes into the picture. Communicators like educators and the media specialists, people who are involved into communicating, broadcasting space news. It's like, there is a company called space.com, everyday astronomy, very big YouTube pages and very big, media channels out there related to the space, to tell about the space industry, who are doing millions of dollars in revenue every single year, but just blogs and all that. So you have always some scope in that industry. And if we want to talk about our own industry, space startups boom, like we can say there are, we can talk about our India, we can talk about, other countries. So I can say this is one of my favorite topic to talk about, especially talking about the Indian space startups, because we all came from that same ecosystem, and we are also a part of this whole ecosystem at the game of space industry in India. So we can say just 5, 10 years ago, this term even doesn't exist. Privatization to space industry, building your own rocket, building your own satellite, and launching it to space. For me, like before 10 years, I have never heard this. So always, all my life, even though I'm a space passionate, space enthusiast, in 2010, 2015, like thinking, okay, if I want to get into space industry, probably I need to get in job into the space industry like ISRO or NASA or something. But things has changed. Let us talk about some of our Indian companies. We already talked, you know, Agnicol Cosmos, a 3D printed rocket. For a lot of us, 3D printing is still a new topic for us. We try to, people who are maybe near to Hyderabad or some kind of a location still go to T-Works to see how a 3D printing rocket works, and want to try few experiments with 3D printing rockets. And you see the advancement. A whole rocket is being built with the 3D printing missions. A 3D printed rocket, a 3D printed rocket engine. So for me, this is something that fascinates. What is innovation more than this? And there is one more company called Skyroot Aerospace. This is first private Indian rocket. After you go to your YouTube and search Skyroot space rocket launch, you see the video. That is India's first space, first rocket, and that is being launched by private company. We have the history of rocket carrying that rocket parts and the satellites on a bullock carts, on bicycles. We see pictures on every August 15th, the foundation day of ISRO, right? So we have came a very long way in terms of space industry, and we have one more company, Pixel. Pixel is one of the leading company in not just in India, in the whole world. They're sending constellation of satellites. They're sending satellites for, you know, weather. They're sending for agriculture. They are doing for climate change. They're doing all sorts of building satellites. And Bellatrix Aerospace is something you must see. So Bellatrix is still, at least still startup, an Indian company, so who are working on electric propulsion. So if you are someone who knows a little bit of rocketry, but let me give you a basic idea. There are different kinds of rocket engines. Okay, so there are solid propellants, there are liquid propellants. There are lots of countries who are still struggling to crack these cryogenic engines and the liquid propellants. But Bellatrix is focused on electric propulsion. Electric propulsion, like you fire some liquid fuels, like, some kind of an oxidizers and all that. And this company is trying to build an electric propulsion which is more efficient. It is going towards green. And when we talk about global companies, Rocket Lab, I guess this company is started from New Zealand and now based their headquarters now is in California. They are launching their own rockets and satellites and all that. Astroscale is something space debris removal. Can guys, do you know anything about what is space debris? Anyone? What is space debris? Okay. So you send satellites to space, right? We send satellites to space. They'll work for some time. They'll not be, remain functional all the time, right? So what happens to the satellites? There are some kind of unnecessary materials, unnecessary small pieces of things. So that is known as debris. It's like just the scrap kind of stuff in space is called as space debris. That is being built up more and more these days because the number of satellite launches that we do and a lot of other things are happening inside at near Earth orbit. There are companies who are there just to clean the debris, who are just to clean the orbit. There are companies like that, Astroscale, and there is one interesting startup from our way from Andhra Pradesh, Vishakhapatnam, called Taramandal. So they are trying to they're working in the same system of debris. So, and there are planet labs, imagining constellations, Axiom Space for building. They're building their own commercial space station. Back then, we used to listen. Someone is building a restaurant in space and some sort of that. That's what they are trying to do. And niche solutions, so everyone, is trying to build something, and we have to be very much happy that India is also a part of it. Okay, and it is how easy, I mean, not so easy if you're lazy, but if you really wants to build something in terms of space industry, by sitting in your room, sitting in your office, while studying, you can design your rocket, you can build your own rocket, you can design your own satellite. It is as easy as that. You have open sources of technologies and everything. So this is something that we talked about, applications of space daily life like GPS, weather satellites, broadcasting, and everything. So space meets biology. So what is this? Space meets biology and food sciences. We spoke about it also. I forgot that I had kept this slide, so I spoke about it a bit early. So, space meets biology. We called it as space biology or space astrobiology, space foods, and all that. So, it is nothing but, till now we spoke about rockets and all that. So, there are some of the most fascinating and futuristic applications of space technology in terms of biology and all that. So we talk what astronauts eat in space and how the food is stored, how the food is preserved, you know, how food sciences can be a part of it. We spoke about it. So I don't know how much time we left. So Ravi, we have time, or should we wrap it up a little bit early?
You can. If you
Okay,
can, you
okay.
can take
Yes,
take your own
yes.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I don't know the availability of the students, like how many would be interested to stay for a longer time. Yeah. So let's go even deeper into this topic. We spoke a little bit about food sciences and biology. How do we nourish humans in space? Like, what kind of food do astronauts eat, and what makes it so different from Earth based foods? The challenge is in space, you lose bone density and muscle mass very quickly due to lack of gravity. So, right. So, this means food has to contain some extra calcium, extra vitamin D, proteins, and other muscle supporting elements. And the second point, you can't carry fresh food for months. Even it must be compact, lightweight, and long lasting. And it should be easier for the astronauts to digest in the microgravity. You can't have crumbs floating around, it's dangerous in microgravity. So, let us talk about it. We are thinking and we are talking, it costs us so much to launch a rocket to space. And the reason is you need such kind of systems. If you're sending 1 kg of food to astronauts to space, it costs in crores of rupees, right? So it costs lot of money. So it has to be lightweight and it has to be compact. You know, let us say how we consume food on Earth. We simply serve it in a bowl, or we open a pack simply and we eat it up. If you do the same in space, everything floats away. Not just the food development, the packaging has to be very unique, and the designing has also very much unique. You know, we consume water or any kind of fluid on Earth, simply from a glass or from bottle. So if you do the same in space, what happens? The water simply floats, right? Once you open the bottle cup, it creates mess, nothing but a mess, right? So astronaut uses pouches, aluminum kind of pouches. They'll have a clamp to it. So what astronauts do is they insert a straw inside the pouch and they sip water. When they don't want to drink, they it will be like a clamp, just like the saline thing that we use, in the saline when we are doing health checkups and all that. We see a clamp to that to adjust the speed. Just like that, you have a clamp here. Not exactly the same design. You have a clamp to close, you have a clamp to open up. If you close the clamp, nothing comes out of it. If you open the clamp, you can sip. Because even from the very narrow hole of the straw, water or any kind of fluids floats away just like that because of the microgravity. So it not just in terms of food development, it also requires a lot of innovation and a unique design in terms of packing the food. And the and the third point, that's what we talked about, uh, you know packaging and all that. So, for example, nutrient dense edible strip for compressed food cubes like concentrated smooths in tablets. Astronaut use rehydrated foods. What is rehydrated foods? Nothing but the foods which are dehydrated first. They'll take away all the water content from inside the food and they send it to space. In space, they add water, they boil it up by using heating suitcases, and they keep it there. It will boil within 5 minutes and 10 minutes and they consume it. This is called rehydrated foods. They use, just like the cup noodles that we consume. We see cup noodles. We open the pack, we pour some hot water in it, we keep it for 2 minutes, and they say that Maggie is ready or the noodles is ready. The same way rehydrated foods. Actually, the concept was from space only. The concept is called rehydrated food. The cup noodles that what we consume on day-to-day life. If you go to a supermarket, we see a cup noodles cup and all that. And space research from your laptop. And we can say this is one of the exciting topics because this is something that you're not listening. This is some you don't have to be a space agency or you don't have to be a PhD scholar to do a small activities if you are really interested in building or working into the space industry. So we can say thanks to the open resources, open source tools, there are citizen science platforms. Even NASA has enabled that and accessible data sets. And so the barrier is gone. If you want to collect some data from NASA or ISRO, you have open data sets. You can go to their website, you can register and you can download the data. And if you want to design a rocket, how many of you are interested to design a rocket by your own? How many of you? How many of you want to design a rocket? I'll tell you the simple tools to build a rocket. Very simple tools. But if there are people who are interested to build a rocket, a design a rocket, I'll guide you through the process. Okay. Yes. So there are very few people interested, it seems, but anyways, fine. So let's talk about it. So, we have this software. How many of you know Canva? How many of you know Canva? How many of you can know Canva? Please raise your hands.
Most of those
Most of you people right
students.
know the Canva, right? So what it is, it's simply a template based designing tool, right? If you are having a seminar, if you want to sell something, if you have an event, if you have a function at home, you open the Canva and you simply type invitation card or a poster or something. It will give you what? Templates. You customize it, you change the color, you change the font, you change the pictures, and you download it, and your design is ready. It is as simple as it is for rockets also. The tool is called Open Rocket. Okay. So, and this Open Rocket, if you are very new to that tool, it is not that hard for you. If you play there for a few hours or a few days, probably it will take you 1 week, 10 days to understand the tools better. If you're an engineering student from a mechanical or maybe civil background, if you know CAD or SolidWorks or something, it is much easier for you to use the tool. In that Open Rocket, you have the templates. Not templates means you will not have a rocket, but if you want to design a cone, there are already some set of cones available. The rocket Moscow. So you keep it up and you want to build the rocket fuel tanks, you add parachute to that, you add thus, and you have an option to change the dimensions. You have the chance to change the capacity of the rocket. You have the chances to you know simply what I can say is you can simply design it. You don't have to sketch it with your pencil or a pen or something. You have the templates, you can build it, then you can simulate it. Once you simulate it, it will show you uh, how much height the rocket can go up to. You have built a design. You don't have to spend lots of money and want to build a rocket. You can simply simulate it. It will show you how much altitude it will go, how much time it will burn, how long it will go, then you will understand the simulations. If I change the aerodynamics of the rocket, the design of the rocket by a little bit, I'm going to make the rocket cone, a nose cone of the rocket, a little more pointy. Then you run the simulation, you will see the rocket has gone more efficiency or less efficiency. So this is one way you can use, design rockets in a very simply simple way. You know, if you have any experts, like if you are from mechanical background, of course your professors might be aware of it, you can get it learned. That's not really like people say rocket science is difficult, but rocket science, to learn in the basic science, even though it is rocket science, it can be easy if you do a little bit more of practicing. It is not that as easy as downloading and designing it on Canva. Don't tell me that you said it is easy. It is not easy, but uh, you know it is not something which is impossible. You can do it. There is one tool called Open Rocket. You can use it. You can do that. And you have second one is Stellarium, another app. It turns your computer or your laptop or your mobile phone into a planetarium, a kind of a virtual planetarium. Now you can identify stars. So there are few apps uh, on your Play Store or in the App Store. You download it, you open the application, you go use it on your terrace. You point your mobile camera towards that specific star or anything. It will show you it's a planet, it's an asteroid, it's a star. If yes, what planet is it, what star it is, how distant it is from you. So it will show you everything. So next time when you look up the sky, when you see a star, you know whether it's a star or a planet? If yes, which planet it is? So it will, kind of give you a little bit of experiential learning of astronomy. So, like Google, downloading it on Google, what are the planets on the solar system? Okay, we have Mars, which is near, we have Jupiter, bigger one, we have Pluto, which is not a planet. Boring, right? If you use this app, it will make your life more engaging, more interesting. I'm sure you will fall in love with it. You'll spend 2 3 hours tonight if you do it. And there is third option called Celestia. It is also kind of 3D space exploration software where you can simulate your own space missions. Uh, you know, like planetary travel or in terms of orbits or anything. It's just like a Google Earth, but it is for an entire universe. If you see Google Earth, it will show you the three-dimensional Earth and all that stuff in an animated way. But this is for this platform is called Celestia. So this is for the entire universe. You can use these tools. There is one more tool called Juniverse, which will classify galaxies, and it will identify some meteors, or it will help you to study. If you have a picture which was downloaded, which was captured from a telescope, it will identify, you know um, to study that. You can study data from NASA, ISRO, or anything. You can also join meteor shows observational programs. Every time you see a shooting star, you can log into its time and direction. You can tell people that what you have found it. So this will enable someone to do a little bit of research into that specific meteor and anything. We call it as meteor science. These days, ISRO and NASA is also launching their kind of hackathons, space apps challenges. It will happen everywhere, even in Andhra, Telangana, from any other states also. So let's go to the next slide, which is a career pathway. So now let us try to talk a little bit about our careers. A lot of students are interested in space. Maybe a lot are not interested, but a lot of people are interested in space. But maybe if you are someone who doesn't know what is the right path to follow to get into that space industry, so let us try to break it down into four clear routes. Okay. So one is the academic track. So what is this? If you really love theory, or if you're some person who wants to study theory, or if you're some person who wants to do research, if you wants to get into deep learning, or if you want to be a researcher or a professor, someone who wants to take up your career academically, there is one option. You can get into the academics. So you can study in IITs. Few IITs are all like IIT Indore is offering astronomy. The IISC you have, IIST you have, IIAP you have, or you can apply for ISRO internship, which will launch every single year. Or maybe you can write into research papers and do that stuff. This is one track. You can get into the researcher academia track. And the second one is the research route. So what is this research path? uh, you know it is nothing but, in research you don't have to be a professor, okay, or you don't have to be a lecturer to do a research. You can work in the companies or organizations like ISRO, DRDO, DFRL, or NASA. There are some private companies who are doing research in terms of space research or rocketry or missile systems or something. You can get into that. These roles focus on innovations, prototypes, solving some technical challenges, and all that. And the third route is, industry route. So what is this? This is for if you are someone who are interested to build, break things like engineers or technicians. You can, launch satellites. You can provide softwares. You can start your own company in terms of building rockets, satellites. You know, you don't have to build a company to build a rocket. You can build a company to design some part of the rocket engine or some part of something. You know, there are a lot of companies who sell screws, not nuts and bolts, to companies like Space Industry, there are like ISRO and other. They build bolts, nuts and they make a living out of it. They do revenue out of it. So if you really want to get into industry, it is not just rockets or research. You can There are lots of other ways you can get into the space industry. And the fourth one is the outreach direction, outreach route. So what is this outreach? So, like, let us say, uh, we are at Space School, we have a lot of space educators. What we do, we attend sessions, we go to schools, we go to colleges, and we make some Instagram reels, we post on LinkedIn posts about space. And do you know that NASA has launched a rocket? Let us break it down, what it is doing, what is the uses of it. So, do you know that ISRO has launched a satellite on the moon? So, what is it doing? And all that. So, it is like communication. These today used to earlier it used to be it is there is no scope for that, but now influencers, there are people who do podcasts for how to make money online. There are podcasters and YouTubers and Instagram influencers. They say that how you can start your business, how you can do your research, how you can get into film, and like lots of you can come and say that I want to teach you about space. You can be an influencer, but first of all you need to learn about it. There is an option, you can make future out of it. There are companies like space.com, everyday astronaut, and a lot of people from even from India. There are a lot of Instagram influencers who take a serious career this outreach, science communication. There are a lot of companies are hiring for science communicators, like even we also at Space School hire a lot of science communicators, people who are very good at public speaking, to deliver some sessions, to make some reels and all that stuff. These are majorly four career pathways, majorly, not these are not the only four ways. There are 400, there can be 4,000, nobody knows. It is always how you innovate. But those are the major four. So, how you can start your career into this. If you are someone as a student, you are not a passed out guy, you're not working employee, you're not working a professional, you're just a student, and how you can start your journey right now. So you can take some online courses, NPTEL, you can get some free courses and some paid courses. ISRO also provides some courses, and not to promote Space School also provides some courses. You can learn these skills, you can apply for internships while you're doing your studies. There is no harm if you do a course, you learn a skill, and you apply for an internship into a space company. There are lots of space companies in the industry. You can go for an internship, you learn the skill. Once you are graduated or you have completed your education, you can try for a job, you can try for any kind of career into the space industry. So if you're someone, I have completed my computer science, I have completed my mechanical science, it is always easier to get an internship than getting a job in the industry. So to get internship, you need right skills. If you say that I have done a course from this company or from this, I have done this course from NPTEL, from this IIT, or from this person, from that company, on your resume it shows that okay, so I'm hiring a student, we don't have to pay them more, and the student has we don't have to train them, the student has some basic idea on space, so it will be easier for them to train. So of course they will prioritize someone who has some experience, expertise in that career. So that's how you can get started if someone wants to get into jobs. And in terms of that, that is one route you can choose if you want to start today. And if you're someone in college, you want to start a company, but you're not sure how, you don't have proper capital to start a company, but you only want to be an entrepreneur, you don't want to work anywhere else, not a problem. You don't have to start a company, you don't have to raise a capital. You can start a space club in your university. Start a space club. Simply a space club. All you have to do, take permission from your college management. You say that some you know if the college gives you some funds, fine. If not, if do some kind of a programs that will generate revenue for for your club, go out, tell you do stargazing, you buy one basic telescope, you tell people, yes, if you want to see through this telescope, the moon visible so nice. If you want to experience it, pay me 50 rupees, pay me 100 rupees. You have your telescope for 50 rupees, 100, 200. You can take a picture, you can post on Instagram and all that. You can start a space club, then you can get into space industry. You can collaborate with mech department. You can collaborate with electronics department to build a very small satellite or to build a very small model rocket. Start with hydro rocket, water rocketry, chemical rocketry, model rocketry, sounding rockets. Who knows? Maybe you'll end up one day building a big company into that. This is one way you can start your career. And there are some possibilities. Join student programs, few of the challenges, teach satellite designs, water rocket competitions. There are competitions happening. You know, NASA every year launches space apps challenge. Even everyone does, whoever in the space industry. Not just space industry, a lot of engineering colleges, universities also do this challenge. All you have to do, it's a hackathon. You have to come up with an idea, like they will problem. This is the problem you need to solve. You have to brainstorm. You club with 4 or 5 people. Yeah, this is how we are going to solve. You build an app and you give them. If you win, they give you certifications. They give you prize monies. That it can be your starting step into space industry, and you can get into you can attend events specifically happens for space, so that will give you hands-on experience, and it will also connect you with the right-minded people. You want to start your company, you want to start to join an internship, you don't have connections. If you go to this, maybe you can meet a HR, you can maybe a person from that company, or maybe you can find your co-founder, maybe you can get learn a lot from the industry experts. You understand policy, you understand network. And when I say go and do networking, don't just print 1,000 cards and give it to everyone, take every call. That is not going to useful. So in terms of business, when we say do networking, before you network with someone, you have to be very very clear in your mind how you are going to use that person, how you are going to use the network, how you are going to leverage the network. If you have 1,000 contacts in your mobile phone, you have no idea how to leverage them. There is no point of having those 1,000 contacts to you, right? So before you connect with any person, please be make sure this is my end goal. I wanted to get a job into the industry. Now I have to do network with the HRs or the team leads, then it will give you a job. If you want to start a company, you have to do networking with such kind of a people. If you go to an event, exchange cards, have their number, take back their number, says hi, hello, how are you, end of the story, it will not take you anywhere, right? So as we're talking, your first space project, you can use a DIY satellite tracker, and you can Mars microgreen, or you can do uh, you know uh, Arduino Moonbase or anything. So it can be like, okay, so let me give you something more personal and more practical in this slide. So this is your very first space project. This is something that you can start doing just after this session. Okay, so wherever you are from. So first option that we have is DIY satellite tracker. So what is this DIY satellite tracker? You can simply use a Python code, TLE data from NASA or from any other, company's data. You can download it from this websites and you can use it with open sources libraries. You can display that position on virtual map. You can show where the satellite is where the satellite is currently situated in our orbit. You can do that real-time operations. And with this, you will learn orbital mechanics, how the satellite is orbiting, in which direction. Is it every time going on the same direction? It is not going from a direction, how it is going. It will give you orbital dynamics. It will give you coding. If you're someone who is very much interested in computers, machine learning, AI, big data, it will give you data visualization also in one project. And the second option, Mars microgreens. I tried to make the name a little more fancy. That's it. This is especially interesting for biology. Biology people. If you're some person from biology or food science student, you can simply simulate Mars soil using common material, LED grow lights, or small microgreens. And you can while you're doing this project, you can write a research paper based on the nutrient impact or the growth rate, how the soil is behaving while you are not on the direct sunlight, you're using LED as a sunlight, you know, you can try to do that. And Arduino moon base is something, build a small model habitat using Arduino sensors to simulate conditions like temperature, oxygen levels, humidity on the moon. This project will enhance your skills in electronics, IoT, and space habitat design. So these are three projects you can do it with a very, very minimal investment, so these are not for fun. It will teach you the real world skills that are useful in the space industry. And you can showcase them in your resume or on your LinkedIn, on your portfolio, or anywhere. If you have any kind of college science fairs or something, you can do it. So it will show in your resume or LinkedIn that you're not just learning, you are also using that skill, the learned skill somewhere else. It shows that you are some person, not a listener, you are a doer. So, again, to bring out Space School, so that's what we do. We help students to build such projects. You know, some of them presented their projects on their college thesis and all that, and a lot of other things. And India's space vision. So, let's come home to India's incredible space vision. You might have heard these names like Gaganyaan, Chandrayaan-3, L1, and in space activities and all that. So, Gaganyaan is nothing but first manned space mission. Till now, NASA has spent Indian astronauts are flown to space but through NASA, not from Indian soil. Gaganyaan mission is that we are going to launch Indian astronauts from the Indian soil. So ISRO has its own mission to launch our own astronauts to space. That is Gaganyaan mission. And Chandrayaan 3, we all know that it was successful lunar soft landing happened. So we showed the world that India can explore the moon even with a very limited budget. There are, at that point of time, there are a lot of memes that was coming up that we have sent Chandrayaan, our satellite to moon, less budget than the interstellar movie. And we have Aditya L1, which is a solar observatory satellite from ISRO. And in space initiative, we were talking about privatization of space industry. If you're someone who wants to be involved into the space industry, in space is the regulator. You can approach in space. I want to launch a satellite. I want to build this. I want to build that. In the space industry, you can approach in space, and they do a lot of educational programs for free, for a few paid. If you're someone interested, you can go and check that as well. So finally, the major thing, I mean, not the major one. One of the point that I want to talk about is our company Space School. So it like we can say that we are India's one of the leading space educational platform in terms of numbers. Like we had more than 50,000 students impacted through our programs over the period of last 4 5 years. So we have inclusive learning. If you're someone who are interested in food sciences, we have space food, biology, astrobiology. You are some interested in rocketry, we have rocket sciences for you. Like if you are a communication engineer, we have satellite communication. So we are that company that offers all kinds of programs. We believe that space industry is not just for one set of people or one set of domains in terms of science and technology. So we offer comprehensive programs. I don't want to talk much about that. So if you want to, stay connected to space, space education, or space research, you can join our communities. You can follow us on our pages to get involved, to get to know more about what's happening into that industry and all that. So I don't want to much brag on the space school sector. So this is something that for today. If you have any questions in terms of any doubt that you might have related to space sciences in terms of technical subjects or anything, happy to answer. Or if you are someone who wants to